Stop what you're doing. Right now, on February 3rd, 2026, silver is quoted at $84 on every financial website. Bloomberg shows $84, Kitco shows $84, your brokerage app shows $84. But if you actually try to buy physical silver today, dealers are charging $100 SD Bullion, $101, APMEX, $100 JM Bullion sold out with 4 to 6 week delays. $84 on the screen, $101 to hold it in your hand. And here's what nobody's telling you. Most dealers don't even have the metal. It's gone, vanished. 4 days ago, they crashed silver 40% in a single session, the biggest one-day drop in modern history. And today, you can't buy the metal at any price close to what the screen shows. That's not a market. That's a crime scene. And I'm going to show you exactly how they pulled it off. I know what you're thinking. You watched Friday happen. You saw silver at $121 on Thursday night. You went to sleep. You woke up Friday morning, and it was $75. You lost money, or you watched your position evaporate, or you sat there thinking, finally, I can buy the dip. So you went online. You checked the dealers, and there was nothing. Sold out. Pre-order only. Delivery in May. And the premiums were insane. They told you it's supply chain issues. They told you it's unprecedented demand. They told you to be patient. I'm going to tell you what actually happened. This was not a crash. This was not a correction. This was a controlled demolition of the paper price while physical metal was systematically removed from the market. And the people who orchestrated it have done this twice before in the last 46 years. By the end of this video, you'll see the timeline, you'll see the proof, and you'll understand why they're terrified of what silver represents. Let me take you back to Thursday, January 29th. Silver hits $121 per ounce, all-time high. The metal had gained 68% in January alone. Social media was exploding. Every analyst calling for $150, $200, some saying $300 was inevitable. The iShares Silver Trust saw $171 million flow in on Monday that week, the largest single-day inflow in the history of that fund. Retail investors were pouring in. The silver market had grown to $6 trillion in total value, bigger than Nvidia, bigger than Apple. Thursday night, people went to sleep thinking about early retirement, about finally beating the system, about being right. And while they slept, the execution order was already written. Friday, January 30th, 6 a.m. Eastern. Most of America still in bed. Markets haven't opened. And then the headline. President Trump announces Kevin Warsh as his pick for the next Federal Reserve chairman. Now, if you don't know that name, Kevin Warsh is a hard money hawk. A man who has spent his entire career fighting against easy money, against low interest rates, against a weak dollar. 3 days earlier, on Tuesday, Trump had signaled he wanted a weaker dollar to help American exports. Traders heard that. Hedge funds shorted the dollar. Asset managers loaded up on gold and silver. Billions moved in one direction. And then Friday morning, Trump picks a Fed chairman who believes in the exact opposite: strong dollar, tight money. The traders who shorted the dollar on Tuesday were now forced to reverse everything on Friday. Forced liquidation, forced selling. The trap snapped shut. But that alone should have caused maybe a 15% drop, maybe 20%. Painful, but survivable. What actually happened was 40% destruction in 6 hours. How? Because there was a second player, China. When silver prices crash, there's usually a buyer, someone who steps in and says, at this price, I'm buying. For silver, that buyer has always been China, largest consumer of silver in the world. They use it for solar panels, electronics, electric vehicles. When silver crashes, China catches it. They provide the floor. But Friday was different. At the exact moment when the market needed buyers, at the exact moment when sellers were overwhelming the system, China made a decision. The Shanghai exchange raised margin requirements, and they stepped back. No buying, just silence. American traders trying to sell, no buyers. Chinese buyers who always show up, gone. And then the algorithms smelled blood. Stop losses triggering across every platform. margin calls going out. Silver went from $121 to $115, then $110, then it broke $100. The psychological level everyone said would hold forever, gone in minutes. It hit $95, $90, $85, $80, $75. In 6 hours, $46 per ounce erased. The ProShares Ultra Silver ETF crashed 60%. If you had $10,000 in that fund Thursday night, you woke up Friday afternoon with $4,000. Gold fell from $5,600 to $4,700. $900 vanished per ounce. One trading desk called it a capitulation event. Another called it the largest single-day wealth destruction in precious metals history. $10 trillion, one session, gone. Now, here's where it gets interesting. After the crash, I went through the data. Not the headlines, not the TV explanations, the actual trading data from the Shanghai exchange. On Friday, 531 tons of silver contracts were traded. 531 tons. That sounds massive. That sounds like real selling. People dumping silver in panic. But here's what the data actually shows. Physical silver withdrawn from Shanghai vaults on Friday, 0. Let me say that again. 531 tons of paper silver contracts traded. 0 tons of actual physical silver moved. Not a single gram left the vaults. So what happened? Paper. Pure paper. The price was driven down with contracts that weren't backed by metal. And here's the part that should make you furious. When COMEX closed on Friday, the paper price of silver was $84. When Shanghai closed the same day, the price of physical silver in that market was $120. Same metal, same day, 45% difference. If you tried to buy physical silver in Tokyo on Friday, dealers were selling it for $150. In the UAE, $170. In India, $140. The screen showed $84. The real world showed $150. Which price is real? The paper price that can be manipulated with empty contracts, or the physical price where actual metal changes hands? And it gets worse. In the weeks before the crash, physical silver was already selling at huge premiums. Dealers in the U.S. were charging $10 to $15 over spot. Inventory was tight. Delivery times were stretching, and that was before the crash. Now, after the crash, when the paper price is supposedly $84, dealers are charging $105, $110, and most don't even have inventory. JM Bullion sold out on most products. SD Bullion 4 to 6 week delays. APMEX pre-order only. So let me ask you something. If the crash was real, if silver really dropped because of genuine selling pressure, why is physical metal disappearing? If supply is fine, why are dealers sold out? Why are premiums exploding? Why is there a 45% gap between paper price and physical price? Here's what they don't want you to understand. The crash on Friday was a paper event, contracts being sold that don't have metal behind them. And when the paper price drops, smart money rushes to buy physical at the discount. But there's no discount, because the metal isn't there. The people who sold paper silver at $75 cannot deliver physical silver at $105. And that tells you everything about what silver really represents. They can print infinite paper contracts. They can drive the screen price wherever they want. But they can't print the metal. And when people start demanding physical delivery, the whole system breaks. That's what you're seeing right now. The paper market showing 84, the physical market showing sold out. Now let me show you who benefits from this. In the 6 weeks before the crash, the CME, the exchange where silver futures trade, raised margin requirements 4 times. December 12th raised 10%. December 29th raised 25%. December 30th raised again. January 28th, 3 days before the crash, they changed the entire margin system. These weren't small moves. By the time Friday came, traders needed 80% more cash in their accounts to hold the same position. And here's the key. When you raise margin requirements that much, you force people to sell whether they want to or not. Where does that extra cash come from? Most people don't have 80% more just sitting around, so they get liquidated, forced selling. And when thousands of traders are forced to sell at the exact same time, The price doesn't decline. It collapses. But here's what should really disturb you. After Friday, after the crash, after $10 trillion vanished, the CME raised margins again. Saturday, February 1st, the day after the massacre, they announced another increase. If this was risk management, you would lower margins after volatility subsides. Let the market heal. Let people get back in. Instead, they tightened again. That's not protection. That's suppression. They crashed the price, and then they made sure it couldn't recover. And this isn't the first time. 1980, silver runs from $6 to $50. The Hunt brothers trying to corner the market. What happened? The CME created something called Silver Rule 7. They banned leverage buying overnight. The Federal Reserve raised interest rates from 11% to 20% in a single move. Silver crashed from $50 to $10. 80% destruction. Silver runs from $8 to $50. Retail traders everywhere. Banks with massive short positions getting crushed. What happened? The CME raised margin requirements 5 times in 9 days. 84% increase. Silver crashed from $50 to $26. 50% destruction. It took 13 years to recover. Now 2026. Silver runs from $26 to $121. The biggest rally in modern history. What happened? CME raises margins 5 times in 6 weeks. China steps back at the perfect moment. Fed chairman announcement, time for maximum reversal. Government on edge of shutdown creating chaos. And silver crashes 40% in 1 day. The fastest destruction of the 3. 1980, 2011, 2026. Same pattern, same tools, same timing, same result. Once is an accident, twice is a coincidence. 3 times in 46 years, that's a playbook. Now, let me tell you what this really means. If silver didn't matter, if it was just another commodity, if it had no significance to the monetary system, they wouldn't fight this hard. You don't coordinate a Fed chairman announcement with a margin hike and a Chinese pullback unless you're desperate. You don't crash the paper price 40% while physical stays at $150 unless the paper market is losing control. The intensity of the attack tells you the value of the target. They're not protecting market stability, they're protecting the dollar system. Because if silver goes to $300, if gold goes to $10,000, what does that say about 50 years of money printing? What does that say about the promise that inflation is transitory? What does that say about the entire structure they've built? It says the paper has failed, and that message cannot be allowed to spread. So they run scripts like this. Paper crashes to scare you. Physical disappears to trap you. Margins rise to keep you out. And they expect you to panic, to sell at the bottom, to give up. But here's what they didn't expect. The gap is too obvious now. $84 on the screen, $105 in reality. 531 tons traded, 0 tons moved. Margins raised after the crash, not before. The same pattern for the 3rd time in 5 decades. People are noticing. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Let me be clear. I'm not telling you to buy silver. I'm not telling you to sell silver. I don't know your situation. I'm not your financial advisor. What I'm telling you is what the data shows. The paper market and the physical market have disconnected. And when that happens in any asset, the paper price eventually has to catch up to physical reality. It might take weeks, it might take months, but physics doesn't care about margin requirements. 4 days ago, they crashed silver to $75 in paper. Today, you can't buy it at that price in the real world. Dealers are sold out. Premiums are $25 to $40 over spot. Physical metal in Asia is trading $150. That gap is the truth, and the truth is that the emperor has no clothes. They called it a crash. I call it the clearest signal in 46 years that the paper system is dying. And I call it the moment when physical silver became more valuable than the price on your screen will ever show. Now you know what happened. 4 days of coordinated demolition, CME margin traps, Chinese pullback, Fed announcement timing, paper crash while physical vanishes. The same script they ran in 1980 and 2011, and the same result they're trying to achieve. keep you away from the one asset they can't print. If this video helped you understand what really happened last Friday, share it with one person who lost money in the crash. One person who's trying to buy physical right now and can't find it. One person who deserves to know why the price on the screen doesn't match the price in reality. Drop a comment below and tell me, are you seeing the same premiums at your local dealers? Because I want to know how wide this gap really is. This is the truth they don't want you to see. The paper price is $84. The real price is whatever you can't find it for. And that difference is everything.